Thank you for joining us on this episode of SeniorLivingGuide.com podcast. I'm Darlene Mahoney, your podcast host. If you enjoy our monthly Senior Focus podcast, we can be downloaded and followed most anywhere you enjoy your podcasts, such as Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. We thank our sponsor, SeniorLivingGuide.com, who provides our online users with a one-stop solution to help seniors and their caregivers find and connect with the best next step in senior living or home health in one easy-to-navigate website. It's easy peasy. And we also have our sponsors, Parrish Healthcare, here with us today. And our guests are Dr. Pam Tronetti and Janet Rooks. Dr. Tronetti is an osteopathic physician who specializes in geriatrics. Janet Rooks is a social worker and a dementia care specialist. They work together at the Parrish Senior Consultation Center, where they focus on the care of patients with dementia. Dr. Tronetti is the Director of Aging Services at Parrish, and Janet Rooks coordinates Parrish Senior Solutions, which provides education, resources, and support for seniors and their caregivers. And we're going to talk a little bit today. We kind of titled it, Get Out and Don't Come Back, letting go of destructive emotions and memories. It's such an important subject, and so I'm really super excited to talk about this because you don't think about this sometimes. So, we talk about healthy aging on this program. We focus a lot on physical health, and we focus a lot on the past on, dementia, which have been really incredible subjects. But today we're going to talk and touch a lot more about keeping in touch with a healthy psyche. Psyche encompasses both, your mind and your spirit. So what does it mean to have a healthy psyche? What does that mean exactly?
Well, to have a healthy psyche means that you have a lot of control over your life because, you understand yourself and you understand other people as well.
Right.
And I read advice columns every day, Dear Abby, and a lot of times people are saying, I have this person who's in our group or at our job, and they're doing this, and I don't know how to deal with it. How do I handle them? How do I change their behavior?
Right.
The truth is you can't change anyone else's behavior. All you can change is your response to them.
Exactly.
And we all process things different. A lot of it has to do with who we are.
Yeah.
And we all come from different experiences, and how we were raised, what our experience has been, our education, this sort of thing. Our culture has a big impact on how we process things. How we were trained, our school, our upbringing, our spiritual experiences, this sort of thing. And how many times have we heard, well, I was brought up that way. This is just the way that I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
And our mindset. We're all set in our minds on how we're going to process something, and this is just the way we are. Dig our heels in. So, sometimes we have to be free to experience other things.
Right. So it's not just stubborn?
No. Well, sometimes we are a little stubborn, and, it's just the way I am. You've seen those people that cross their arms over their chest, and they're just,
And as you get older, I think that is more so because you've been doing this your whole life, and this is just kind of the way that you are, and you're not going to change. Dag darn it.
And it's, I don't want to say it's okay, but it may be okay for that person, but it all has to do with your experience. And so to change someone, you don't change that person, you change who you are and how you interact with that person.
Right.
And it's okay.
So what happens to the psyche as you age?
Most people grow. Their experience, they expand their horizons. I went to college. When I graduated from high school, I went away to college. And so I experienced things different than what my sisters did. So when I came back home, they didn't want to hear about it. So, I don't want to say I'm different than what they are, but I am different in how I experience things. My little hometown is a wonderful place to grow up, but it was different. So my experience and the way I see things and the way I experience things is totally different than what my sisters do. Some of my classmates from high school, some of the people Does that make me better? No. Does it make me see the world a little different? Yes.
Yeah, and I think sometimes you hold on to the new things, and other times you say, you know what, I think I will go back to that hometown feel. This was something good from my childhood, but this, not so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So, sometimes we get stuck in the past, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Unless you get mired in it, and it's just holding on to you and not letting you see a different point of view.
Right, absolutely. And I think that can definitely, as we age, you start thinking more and more about the past as, you get older and, you're not as busy and you're not as active in life, and you just kind of, folks have moved out and you're spending more time kind of more in your own head per se, because you don't have the kids and the family and the sports and the activities and even grandkids and things like that. You might be spending more alone time.
And we've often seen thoughts and memories suddenly bubble to the surface because your active brain isn't busy thinking about, I've got to get up and I've got to work. You're kind of remembering the past.
Right.
They're doing a lot more work now, especially with children, recognizing trauma and its effect later on. And even in some nursing homes, they're advocating looking at how did this person grow up. We are seeing a lot, aren't we, Jen, of people in their 80s and 90s who are finally telling their kids, telling us, you know what, there was physical abuse in my family. My father had a substance abuse problem. We didn't have enough to eat. We were always scared and cold and hungry. There was verbal abuse. There was sexual abuse. And people have to process through this and get to the bottom of it. Some of what we would call child abuse now was considered normal parenting then.
Oh, things were so different even when I grew up, and I'm not going to tell my age, but, I remember, and this is just something that's come to light for me even in the past couple weeks, and I won't go into detail, but I had a girlfriend that I went up until I was like 12 or 13 years old that I spent a lot of time with. I would go spend the night. She lived down the street from me, and I just loved her to death, and she was being sexually abused by her uncle. And she asked me to keep it a secret, and I thought I was doing her a favor. I did not realize, even, back in the, 70s and 80s, that this was something I should have been telling my mother about. And finally I did. And I have reaped the guilt of that my whole life, and talked to my mom about it. And, it's been something that's just weighed heavily on my heart. And I found out recently that she just passed away. And it's just been something that's just, I think back, even then, it wasn't. Now these kids hopefully know more because it's more out there. Where even seniors now, how much more was, taboo. You didn't talk about things were more normal. You didn't talk about these different things. And what is considered child abuse now wasn't back then, because and you didn't stick your nose into other people's business. So
there was a little boy on our street who had cancer, and we were not allowed to talk about it. And it would have been so helpful if, as kids, we could have talked with each other and just said, how are you doing, instead of pretending that nothing was wrong. But that's how we were raised. You don't air your dirty laundry in public. You don't talk about emotional issues.
And I think most children have some type of experience like that. They grow up, and it's that culture. And and folks that have dementia now, with the gaps that are in their memory, it's now coming out. They have stifled that. They've raised their families. And now those inhibitions or those gaps in their memory, it's coming out. They don't know how to deal with it. They've never talked about it. They have never dealt with it. And now it's coming out, but it's raw. It's new.
And our veterans are reliving things they saw in Korea, in Vietnam, that they have kept bottled up.
So they may actually start having PTSD, which is now something that's recognized, which back then was never recognized.
Well, actually, after the Civil War, they called it soldier's heart.
Okay.
They knew that it was there, But again, our culture is, boys don't cry, men don't cry. But things have to be processed. And maybe it takes a psychiatrist or psychologist. Maybe it takes a support group. Maybe it takes something online. Maybe it takes a book. Maybe it just helps to know that somebody else has gone through this.
Right.
Yeah. And, and it may take all of it. Or even a one-on-one counseling, just like Dr. Phil type counseling. So, how's that working for you to deal with it and to get to the bottom of it, to say, okay, it's okay to have those emotions. It's okay to feel that way. Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
And, and you mentioned the support groups. Sometimes just to know that you're not alone in this journey, you're not alone in feeling that way. It's not a pity party. It's a time to talk about, I have those emotions as well. And I know that, we have the VA here in Brevard County, and they do have those support groups for the folks that have gone through and are dealing with the PTSD. And it's pretty dynamic. It really is.
Yeah.
Now, and it is tough with our patients who do have dementia, though, because many times they are confabulating. And if you take that word apart, it comes from the word fable or fabulous. It's a misperception. It's a false memory that suddenly they might say to their kids, your father was fooling around on the side for years. And they go, what? Where is this coming from? It could be real, but it could be something they saw on TV. And the families are just devastated. Like, why didn't I never hear about this?
Right.
And for our families, we might say, try to look for the truth. Ask other members of that generation, is this really true or is it not? Otherwise, you need to talk to somebody of, how do I deal with this? How do I support mom, rather than argue or try to say, no, it never happened. It might take, too, some kind of medication that the person is having anxiety, depression, and they can't verbalize those feelings. They can verbalize, why do I feel this way? Somebody must have hurt my feelings. This is probably what happened. And all of a sudden it becomes their reality, their truth.
Right.
Yep.
Just kind of like, one thing when I was like thinking about this subject, when at night, when you're at home and you're asleep or you're in bed, things are so much bigger, and then when you wake up they kind of diminish a little bit. And I think it can kind of be the same way when you're spending so much time alone and things like that. Things are always bigger, and they can take legs of their own. So something that might be small can just become a monster when you're just kind of spending a lot of time thinking about it. Especially, I'm assuming, especially when you may have dementia. Is that something?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Our news, we're blessed with 24-hour news. And I can remember when they first had the invasion over in Desert Storm.
I think that's actually the 1-year anniversary today.
Yeah.
Or it was yesterday.
But, and they...
Not the 1 year, but the anniversary, sorry.
Our wives were coming in saying, I don't know what's going on. He's restless. He's agitated. And we started looking at exactly what's going on. Well, it was the news was on. And these were retired captains, generals, officers in the military. Well, they had dementia. And they thought they needed to go take care of their men.
Yeah.
They thought it was happening in their backyard.
They sure did.
Yeah.
And, and so it was like, okay, but it took a little bit of peeling the layers off the onion, if you will, to figure out exactly what was going on. And that's what it was. So let's turn the TV off, open up the blinds, make sure that they get the sunlight in there, and know that they're safe. So, yeah, it's really, it's trying to figure out exactly what's going on. The counseling doesn't work with someone that has dementia, but reality, you validate their fears, and then you redirect, because you can't reason with someone with dementia.
Right.
And like Dr. Pam was talking about, the medication, sometimes the medication has to be brought on board, and and just kind of let them know that they're okay.
I agree with that. And one of the things that I think is really interesting for me, and I think it's really great that we're even having this conversation, because I think that seniors in general, this subject kind of gets pushed aside when it comes to them. At least I feel like it does, because I don't think that we always listen to their fears and because we go, mom, it's fine, it's okay, don't worry about it. Instead of listening and seeing that they genuinely have fears and these emotions and things that are happening, and giving them the attention to detail that needs to be given to them, and really kind of digging into those onion layers, like you said, to help them, to give them more peace in their life. I think that sometimes seniors just kind of get overlooked with that, and that's very sad to me.
Well, you mentioned something that happened as a child, and you have to realize that you didn't have the ability to speak up. I was telling Janet a story about a teacher who was mean to me when I was in second grade. Clear as a bell, I remember it. But as a child, you can't go up and say, hey, why did you do that?
Right.
You can't go home and explain thoroughly to your parents what happened. And sometimes as seniors, especially those with some memory loss, they can't pull out the explanation for how this happened, the details, how they dealt with it. You know, we live in a talk show society, so we are used to seeing people just lay out all their family dynamics, and we have an understanding of psychology, and this generation didn't. Just like when they try to explain to me what's wrong, they never took biology class in high school.
Right.
So we have to give that person time to use their own words and say, this is how this felt to me.
You know, and I talk about that in my support group, my caregiver support group, because I now have caregivers taking care of someone that they may not want to necessarily take care of, but they're now doing that. And, you know, and I'll recommend that they write a letter, you know, purge their emotions and do that. Journaling is wonderful. And I'll tell them, you know, if there's something you're writing in there that you never want anybody to see, is shred it. You know, shred that letter or shred that page in that journal in your, you know, or burn it. Have like a ceremony type thing, but get those emotions out. If you don't get rid of them, they're going to stay in there, and they're just going to keep festering because you've got to get them out. Professional counseling, you know, to learn to deal with that, because if you don't, it's going to stay there. It's going to haunt you. And sometimes you've got to just let it go.
Yeah,
You've got to just let it go.
Just talking to someone and just kind of sharing, even if it's not going to fix it, it's not going to, but just being able to talk to someone just gives you that peace afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. My favorite word when I talk about these negative emotions is rumination. You know, cows are ruminants. What do? They eat, they swallow it, it goes in their stomach, it comes back up again as cud. They chew on it. It goes back down. And people ruminate. They bring up this negative thing, they chew on it, they taste it, it's just awful, and then they swallow it back down. You've got to find a way to spit it out.
Right. I think women are, I wanted to say, might be the worst at that. But so, you know, we're talking, you know, with seniors, is it ever too late for them to heal? It's not too late for them to really seek help and heal and make those decisions it's never too late for them to have a better life.
Well, that's a beautiful statement, because we say that, you know, it's never too late to feel better. It's never too late to get healthier. It's never too late to get stronger. It's never too late to eat right. Well, we'll put a little tiny almost in there.
Yes.
But, you know, 99% of the time, yes, you can do something, reach out for help, and get a little better.
Yeah, emotionally, I think it's important. I mean, to seek help to heal emotionally, I think it's really important.
Yeah, and a lot of times, physical pain goes away. You know, I remember reading a story about a woman who her whole family had really bad teeth. It was genetic. Everybody had dentures by the time they were 25. She remembers going to the dentist. The teeth were all extracted, but the pain went away. But the dentist and his nurse were talking about, how did this young girl, why didn't she ever brush her teeth? She must not have taken care of it. She still remembers it 20, 30, 40, 60 years later. The psychic pain is worse than physical pain.
I absolutely agree with that. I think people that have been through even, you know, divorces, sometimes it's the things that are said and maybe not the things that are done in a divorce that can absolutely, people do not realize verbal abuse is significantly worse than, I mean, not significantly worse, but can definitely harm someone for longer. Emotional abuse for long periods of time, because it can affect someone and question them. Even later along in life, I think it can make people start questioning their self-worth on something that maybe happened 20 years ago. So it is really important to, address those things. You know.
There's been some really fascinating studies where they stimulated an area of an animal's brain over and over and over, and that area of the brain stopped reacting. And then they kind of did the same with humans, except maybe they called that human being a nasty name. And that part of the brain lit up, and it lit up, and it lit up, and it lit up, and then it stopped lighting up. And the conclusion they came from is, if you are in a bad relationship, you respond the first time your significant other calls you a bad name, tells you you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid, and after a while you don't respond.
You just don't care.
It just doesn't even hit you the way it would hurt another person who had never been called stupid. And why do you put up with this? Well, because that part of my brain is so used to it. So that's another reason why we all interpret things and process things differently because of our life experience.
Yeah. That's kind of a full circle, conversation.
And it's has a lot to do with what we've gone through, and the extent that it's been there. If and how we process that. The coulda, shoulda, wouldas.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Everybody has the coulda, woulda, shoulda. I mean, especially as you get older, because your coulda, woulda, shoulda list gets significantly longer. Yeah. So you can go back in that time machine. So what about that?
But we can't go back.
Right.
If we could, if we could sit down and rewrite our life. If I had only moved to a different area, if I had only put my child in a different school, if I had only gone to a different school, if I had only married that guy, if I hadn't married that guy, if I had taken that job, if I hadn't have taken that job, you can't look forward. I mean, you can't look back.
Right.
You can't look forward, or you can look forward. It's like but you can't just stay there running in quicksand and think you're going to make a whole lot of changes.
Right.
It's like the coulda, shoulda, woulda. We can't go there.
Yeah. The trouble is when we say, if only I hadn't done this, my life would be perfect. It would be peaches and cream, because my kids would have turned out better, and I'd be happier and healthier. But that's not necessarily true.
No, you have to think.
Things could have been worse.
Yeah. Well, and all things happen for a reason, and you have to really look at it that way. Even when bad things happen, you really do. I think it's hard for people to do that, but because everybody has the woulda, coulda, shouldas. There's not one single person on the face of this earth walking around that doesn't have that thought, I would imagine.
But
sure
everybody thinks they're the only one.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Everybody has regrets. Every human being.
But it'll drive you crazy.
Yeah.
If you sat down and started thinking about, if I had only, if only I had, it'll drive you crazy.
Right.
I mean, it's like we were driving down here today, and I saw a police officer who had pulled somebody over, and the blue lights were, and I told Dr. Pound, I said, I looked at my odometer, my speedometer, and I said, I better slow down. Well, if I hadn't slowed down, I could have, I wasn't going that fast. But coulda, shoulda, woulda. It could have got it. I could have gotten in trouble. But
it can
it's
happen
like
the
awareness.
Opposite way.
It's awareness.
If only.
If only.
Yeah.
But
see, I'm a professional worrier. That's what I do for a living, and that's what makes me good at my job. Is I have to worry about your blood work and your prescription refill and how you looked when I saw you. But my husband said, you're not happy unless you're worried about something that is happening, or you're worried if you don't have anything, you worry about something that did happen, or you worry about something that might happen.
Right.
That's the only time, because you're always worrying about something.
Right.
It's like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I am.
I think I am too. I think I might be as well.
And my grandmother was that way. I mean, if she heard an ambulance, she got on the phone calling around to see which one of us might be in it. Because she was.
Sounds reasonable to me.
I am serious. And Mom Clark would start calling. I heard an ambulance heading that way. Which one of you are hurt? I heard And so it was like, okay, I don't want to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
I went to counseling not to be that way because I was being set up to be that way. So it's like, okay, I've got to change my mindset because I didn't want to be that worrier. Mm-hmm. Now, am I perfect? Oh, no, far from it. But when I feel that anxiety building up, I've got to sit down and clear my aura and do this. I'm a social worker. My world is gray. Now there's black and white areas in my world, but for the most part it's gray. Mm-hmm. Nothing's definite. So unlike Dr. Pam, where it has to be black and white and certain things have to be and there's perimeters and all this kind of thing, there are certain areas in my life that is just in social work world, it's black and it's gray. So if I feel the anxiety building up, it's kind of like you got to get control over it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And because if not, it's going to eat you up. Yeah. It will destroy you. Yeah. So when I talk to people that have that, it's like, okay, you got to relax. You got to learn to relax. Look in the mirror. That's the person you have control over, but not completely because there's other variables that come into play.
Right.
Yeah, but Darlene, you made a point of there are people, I call them high energy people rather than anxious people.
Okay.
But you could channel all that anxiety into worrying about the patients. You could channel it into holding a second job. You could channel it into other activities.
Right.
But when you're 80 and you're not having all these people to worry about and take care of, then it kind of turns in on you and you just kind of get anxious and it can really chew you apart.
Yeah. So on that note, I think we're going to take a break and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit more, ladies. Thank you.
Parrish Healthcare, we believe in our community. We believe in keeping our community safe. We believe in the art of healing. We believe in healing patients, healing families, healing communities. We believe in the best and brightest working together for the common good. At Parrish Healthcare, our team focuses on you as an individual because every life is a work of art to us. Parrish Healthcare, where the art of healing comes to life. Visit parrishhealthcare.com/healthaware for a free health risk assessment.
Hey, Mom, how's the retirement home search coming?
Oh, my gosh. I'm just so stressed out. I don't even know where to begin.
Well, why are you so stressed? What's the matter?
I don't know where to find anything. I just need everything in, like, one place and know what all the options are.
Does the idea of searching for senior housing seem overwhelming and you just aren't sure where to even begin? SeniorLivingGuide.com has great news for you. We offer a one-stop solution to take the stress out of your senior housing search. At SeniorLivingGuide.com, both our statewide Florida edition book and website are created to make your senior housing search very easy for you to navigate. We provide details on communities, including retirement, assisted living, skilled nursing, memory care, and home health, allowing you to decide which best fits your needs and then connecting you directly with those communities. Visit us online at SeniorLivingGuide.com and start your search today and start de-stressing.
At Parrish Healthcare, we believe every life is poetry in motion, motivated by strength and determination. As your bone, muscle, and joint healthcare partners, we believe in blending the art of healing with the science of medicine to keep your body in motion. We believe in healing patients, healing families, and healing communities. For a free orthopedic health assessment, visit parrishhealthcare.com/orthoaware. Parrish Healthcare, where the art of healing comes to life.
Welcome back and thank you. We are here with Dr. Tronetti and Janet Rooks, and we're discussing letting go of destructive emotions, memories, and we're going to talk about people as well in the second half of our segment. So we're talking about guilt. How about people who feel guilty about some of their choices? How do they kind of let some of that go?
Well, I've met people who made a little mistake when they were a kid. And again, some of that might have been how they were raised. They didn't say the right thing. They didn't do the right thing. And now they're carrying that guilt around for decades. Or maybe, maybe we should have done things different with the kids. Maybe we should have sent them to a different school. Maybe we should have, bought him a car, whatever. And we've got to let that go. And Janet counsels a lot of people about this.
Yeah. And and it's interesting because in talking to people, there's always that common thread that they wish they had done something different. Whether it be that we're in a society now that everybody's watching everything we do. Years ago,
Yes.
every you were talking about your friend. We used to be where that the houses were. What went on in that home went on in that home.
Yeah, it was like Vegas.
Yeah, but now neighbors are watching. Teachers are watching. Everybody's watching everything we do, and they're judging it. And it's being posted on Facebook. It's being posted on social media. It's being posted. Everything is being. We're out there for the world to see.
Yes.
And but we're all being judged, and we're being judged by other family members as well. And everybody's got an opinion. And
That
it's
they
like
do.
if you're taking, if you're taking care of, say for instance, I was taking care of my mom or my grandmother. I'd have a family member that would tell me how I was doing it wrong, not how I was doing it right, but how I was doing it wrong. So and if they say something, it's going to bring up something else that someone else told me I was doing wrong, and it's just like that little scab that's there is always being picked, and it's okay to tell somebody to leave you alone. Just let me deal with it, Or here's Grandma, you take care of her for a little while. I'm gonna work on me. I've got to work. I got to do this. So yeah, it's interesting in the support group how they take care of each other. I often joke I'm there for coffee and crowd control, and they're there to take care of each other, and they do. They take care. They take care of each other in healing because that's how groups work. But yeah, I hear it a lot.
So looking for a support group and looking for maybe a core group of people that you can just really talk to helps relieve some of the guilt you may have over, things in your life. Is that kind of a good point? No, I agree with that. I think a lot of people don't talk about things, and they really should be talking to either a therapist or a group and just sharing and letting go of some of the things that were taboo in the past. I think that's a really good point, because things that were taboo in the past are no longer taboo, and they should be talked about. And I think it does relieve some of that guilt. I know you always say a guilt is something you give yourself, but even after you've given it yourself, you can maybe give it back. It can be a returnable gift.
You can release it.
You can release it. Yes. Don't re-gift it though.
And if you did something wrong, to somebody, if you don't feel comfortable in telling them you're sorry, forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you don't forgive yourself, you're just gonna harbor that. You're gonna carry it, and and you don't have broad enough shoulders to carry it a long, long way.
Yeah. I agree with that. So how do you let go of anger towards someone who has hurt you? Because I know that that's something that can be really, or even hurt someone that you love. I mean, it's really hard to do that. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the word forgiveness, it's been misused. Forgive and forget. No, forgiveness, the favorite definition I've heard is forgiveness means I no longer feel the need to punish you for hurting me. So it doesn't mean that the person who hurt you, it was okay, don't worry about it, it wasn't that bad. It just, it doesn't mean you have to say, I forgive you to that person. It just takes away that bitterness that is hurting you from the anger toward them.
Yeah. It's very strange because I went through a terrible divorce and had some not amazing things happen. And I was actually able to do that with my ex-husband, which I cannot believe I was able to do. But I have such a huge peace. And but it was a decision that I made. It wasn't something that, just fell out of the sky. But it was a decision that I made. I made it, for the sake of my children, and also because I had to have that peace. I could tell that it was something that was physically and mentally and emotionally just something I could not bear.
Yeah, it was making you a different person.
It was making me a different person because I have always been just sunshiny and, a go-getter and feeling like I really just was happy in my own skin, and I could just kind of feel like it was taking me to a dark place that of a person I did not want to ever become. And so I did let that go. And while I don't know that I forgive him per se, I have forgiven him in the fact that I'm not bitter towards him, and I'm, none of that. And I'm so at peace with it. It's just, it's shocking that I was able to do that. But if you can really find a way to find that, it is life-changing. It took me a couple years.
Right, and you don't condone what they did.
Absolutely not.
But you're letting it go.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like eating something bitter or eating something, and punishing them and being angry toward them, and they don't even know it.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
and he could have cared less what. Yeah.
But you gave yourself a gift. You gave yourself freedom, and you let it go.
Yeah.
And that you took care of you.
Yeah.
And you took care of you not only for your children, but for yourself. So, and you didn't get revenge in one sense.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I did not get revenge.
That's a whole nother show, folks.
But in one sense, your revenge was you became a happy person again.
Yes.
Yeah. Living well is the best revenge.
Yes.
So it really wasn't, your revenge was you released the anger and the bitterness and I guess poison in one sense, because you're living a happy life.
Yeah, and it made a big difference for my son. Not that that always, but it did, I think, really made a big difference for him as well. Because clearly what affects me it affects other people around you in a negative way. And it can even push, I think, people away from you when you're in a really negative space. People that love you, that want to get close to you, I think it can push them away and it can affect your relationships with them. So let's talk about people you should just stay away from. It's not always, it's not always healthy to just have anyone and everyone in your life. Sometimes it's okay to say, this person's not healthy in my life, correct?
Absolutely. There's some difficult people out there in this world, and it's okay to not allow them in your space. Now, sometimes they have to be there because of your job or family members or whatever, but you have to learn the skills to deal with and to work with them or whatever. It's just like someone that's working in retail, for example. Not everybody should be working in retail. Not everybody should be working in the restaurant industry because it's like someone goes in there and, there's unrealistic expectations of a customer. And, if you're rude or disrespectful, that's not where you need to be. Maybe stocking a shelf, but, so the expectations may... you can't meet their expectations. So not everybody should be working with the public. But then there's the folks that are just, that's where they need to be. That's their niche. They are fantastic at it. So, working with difficult people, and I'm not saying everybody goes to a restaurant is difficult, but let's face it, some folks are.
Right.
But that's where you get your experience. And you learn from your manager, no, this is an unrealistic expectation, and you get to say, no, I'm sorry, we can't provide that. But there's other folks who were never exposed to that in their job experience or their life experience. And now all of a sudden they're 60, 70, and my gosh, how do I deal with this neighbor, this caregiver, this family member?
Or in-law that they now have in their family that they have never dealt with that type of person because they have this nucleus of a family. And then all of a sudden there's a family member that has been brought into this family and oh my goodness, I don't like them. But now
there's strategies.
They can upset that apple cart.
Yeah, you can learn it. But it's like, oh no, again, the arms folded over the chest and I don't like them. But, and it happens. So they can learn to cope, but it is a skill to learn to cope.
So we've heard the term, the line that crosses the line. We are literally talking about boundaries.
Yeah, and let me define what this personal boundaries are. Your limits of what you're going to accept. You create your boundaries to identify safe areas and permissionable ways for other people to behave towards you and how you're going to respond to them.
Janet, you know this well.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. For example, if someone uses curse words to me, I'll shut them down. I do it in a very respectful manner.
You go, girl.
I do. You know, I have said, I'm a professional. I mean, this is at work. I'm a professional. You don't talk to me that way. If you want to talk to me, I'll be glad to, talk to you. But no, you're not going to talk to me this way.
Yeah.
And, and I get I'm sorry. But, I've had people walk away, but I'll shut them down because I'm not going to. I have had people that have been disrespectful over the phone. I have told them that. They keep on. I hang up on them.
But some people are very meek. I mean, some people really aren't going to do that.
Now, I have not always been this way.
Yeah, but when we talk, a boundary is a line. It's a line that you don't cross, and it's one that you set up.
Yeah.
And we call it limit setting, too, that I will accept this, but I'm not going to accept that. I will accept, for example, now we're in the time of COVID. My patients with dementia pull their mask down and they forget to pull it up. I'm not going to spend my visit with them saying, pull your mask up, pull your mask up. But the caregiver, I'll say, you really need to have your mask on. So you accept behavior from a child that you don't accept from an adult.
Exactly.
And it's the same limit setting. You help to accept some of that behavior. But it's interesting because people are going to treat you the way you allow them to treat you.
That's true. You're not a doormat until you lie down.
No.
Right.
And it's the reasonable expectations. And, you said, go girl. But like I said, I have not always been that way.
Well, and I'm very meek. And
I didn't mean to agree so quickly. But
and yet you did.
Yet I did.
But I have our office manager, I have Janet, when I say, I don't know how to confront this person, they say, I have no problem standing toe-to-toe with a human being and saying, you crossed a line, here is where the line is.
So I like that term, you've crossed a line, because that just sets it right there. There's no arguing. I think when you get into arguing, you can't, you just dig a hole.
You lose your credibility when you argue. I mean, you really do. I mean, it's like you just lose it, and no one hears you beyond that first sentence.
So tell me about some of the difficult people you've kind of come across.
Well,
not that these are real life people, but just kind of,
yeah, I mean, and we've all come across dozens of these people. My first group, I call them the yeah-butters, that they come to you for advice, you give them that advice, and then they say, yeah, but.
Yes.
And, the first time, okay, I get it. You have some concerns. You have some realistic reasons that you can't do that. But it happens again and again and again.
They just don't want to.
Yes, but they don't see it, and they come back and ask the same questions. I have a friend who we're always, every time I talk to her, we've got to plan a trip. We've got to plan a wonderful trip. Everything I offer, for each suggestion, there's 5 reasons why that trip won't work. So, it's too far away, it's too close, I've been there before, I've never been there.
So there's no real desire to take a trip, it seems.
Wow, you've just given me some insight into that. You're probably right.
Yes.
But there's other things, because Janet will make suggestions, because people say to Janet, how can I deal with this problem? Jane?
Yeah. And they'll I'll talk about, and I usually have my toolbox of all this, because it's not my first rodeo, and I'll go everything from, private duty to daycare to everything. No. Well, Mom doesn't like being around people. This won't work. That won't work. And I'll say, well, let me give you this, and you'll have it available for when you need it.
They paint themselves into a corner.
And it's like they have their own problems, they set their own boundaries, and they set their own limits. Does that mean that I back off? Heck no. I give them everything they need. and I give them my card. You call me when you're ready, and I'll be glad to help you. Now, does that mean I'm never going to hear from them? Some of them, no. A lot of them, yes, because it gives them a chance to, like Dr. Pam was talking, ruminate. They take it all back, and I get a phone call saying, you know, we've gone over this, I need this help. Because I've given them their power back, and they do it. Now, a lot of them know, this is never going to work, this is never going to work, it won't work. But in crisis, it has to work.
They have to just really look at their options and figure it out, because these are the options. So sometimes maybe they want a fix, and the fix that they think they want, you're not providing them, so they have to figure out what the fix is.
Yeah, or sometimes it's they have boundary issues and they're saying, well, mom or dad wouldn't like this, therefore it won't work. Yes, but would you like it? Do you need it? Do you need this for you? And that's okay. Caregivers need sleep and rest and relaxation and help.
Yeah.
And, you know, and for seniors that may not have the dementia, but they're just needing help, it's amazing how that they're more receptive to options.
Yeah.
But they want it done some of them may want it done for them, but you know, they may not want it done right then. They're just gathering all of this stuff, and they come back later, and it's pretty cool. It really is, you know.
Well, I'm so excited that there's all these options that are actually available for seniors to be able to go get the help that they need, and the caregivers to get the help that they need, and acknowledging that as seniors are aging, that they do start having more memories of things that happened in the past, and they do have time where they're starting to bring up these memories, and kind of it can cause depression and anxiety and all these different things. And so really addressing those, that is something that's being done, and it's not being ignored in the medical community. I think that's really great, and it's something that if our listeners are listening, these are available, and ask about it. Don't just ignore it. Don't just say, Mom, Dad, you'll be fine, and know that that your loved one still, just because they're older doesn't mean they don't have emotions and these different types of things. Yeah.
Well, the next step, there's our yeah-butters who are just kind of annoying, but we all get through it. The next step is what we call the damsel in distress.
Okay.
And that's somebody who they were given a simple task. Maybe they were supposed to register their kid from school. Maybe they were supposed to pay their gas bill. Maybe they were supposed to get a form filled out. They didn't do it. Now they come to you, and if you don't fix it, it's your fault. And, you know, we've seen that a lot of times. For example, I had a neighbor who came to me and said, you know what, I had all these expenses, this and that, I didn't pay my gas bill.
Yeah.
Can you help me?
Yeah.
I will help anybody.
Yeah.
6 months later, though, they needed help with their gas bill again. But I knew that they had also taken a Caribbean vacation. They had bought, a speedboat. I went, wait a minute. And they're like, but I needed that vacation. Well, yeah, well, you need heat. You know, so you have to draw that line and say, like, fool me once, shame on
me. Fool me twice, or shame on you.
Yeah.
Fool me twice, shame on me. You know, and of course, these are difficult situations. These are individuals that they just want things done for them. You know, and I get a lot of these calls. You know, I've called around and I need help with. I've called all these different agencies, and unfortunately, right now, the charitable agencies, the funding is not there. I mean, there are more people needing help than there's a lot of resources out there. So, you know, we've learned to say we've got to take care of ourselves. And you know, I wish I could help you more. Here's a list of some agencies. And I've learned to set limits of what I can do.
Right.
You know, there's times I get off the phone and I'm looking back through my little black book that I have and to see what I can do. And it's painful when I get the phone calls. But, you know, I can't help everybody. And, you know, and I have realized I can't do that.
And we're here to tell our seniors, you can't fix everything either. That's where if your neighbor is coming to you and needs something and you feel, okay, this is a good idea, I can help, but there are times that you're going to have to say, wow, I can't help you.
Right.
Why don't you call Janet Rooks?
Yeah.
And then when they lather, rinse, repeat. I wish I could help you, but I can't. You're allowed to say no to set your limits and boundaries.
So your seniors are coming to you sharing stories about people that are having a damsel in distress?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In stereo.
Yeah.
And they're calling saying, I now have 3 or 4 generations living in the household, and they're living off my Social Security check. Nobody's working, and this sort of thing. And that is just really interesting dynamics. And because they can't.
They have to set those limits.
They have to set those limits.
Yeah, I think that gets harder, especially when it becomes family.
It is, and a lot of people will use. I had a friend, a minister, who inherited some rental property, and he had to give it up because the tenants were saying, well, if you were a really good Christian, you wouldn't charge me rent. Well, there's that damsel in distress.
Yes.
This is your fault.
An awful thing to say.
And so he had to give it to a businessman who said, no, this is a business.
Right.
So the lady who made one meal a week for the neighbor, that now the daughter said, well, if you don't give him a meal every day, he's going to starve. So it's on you now. You have to do this. To say, well, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And you don't need to make an excuse. You don't need to have this story and explanation, which is what I think people are thinking about when they're writing into Dear Abby. You just say, no, I can't do that right now. I don't need to explain this to you. You do not deserve an explanation from me. It's just not something I can provide.
Yeah.
And I'll refer people to Al-Anon, and that's for family members of alcoholics, or Narcanon, which are family members of individuals that are on narcotics, because those support groups will give empowered people to be able to set limits with their family members that are addicted to narcotics or alcoholics, because it's a whole nother dynamic. And they're not buying the alcohol. They're not giving them the money to go out and do that, because that is a big problem. And they're stealing things, and they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing to our seniors.
Yeah, that's kind of the next step that we see. And often either people have had this in their lives their whole life, or this is new to them. How do I deal with a grandchild who comes into my life? Now, God bless anybody who has beat substance abuse, who has beat any addiction. But even they will tell you in the support groups, I would have done anything to get the medication.
Yeah.
And
seniors have lots of medication.
And that's true too.
In their medicine cabinets.
But more than that, damsel in distress, it's I made this mistake. I didn't pay my rent because I was buying drugs or alcohol. Now my kids are going to be out in the street eating out of garbage cans. So if you don't pay my rent, you are responsible for the outcomes, not me. Because most people, again, our substance abusers are very open about saying, nothing was ever my fault. It was always somebody else's fault, and I had no control.
And also what we've done is sometimes if it's a vulnerable senior that may have some dementia and everything, we have actually made referrals to Adult Protective Services and got them involved, or had a guardian, or asked for a guardian to be appointed, so that someone else is taking the reins and helping that vulnerable senior to protect them, so that they are not being exploited, not being financially exploited, not being put at risk, not being put in the back bedroom to where they're being taken advantage of. Because we don't want our vulnerable seniors being taken advantage of.
And again, this might take another family member who's not afraid of confrontation to draw that line and say, you've crossed the line. Now you're going to go back on your side, and I'm going to take over for mom or dad or Aunt Pitty Pat, and I'm going to be, her guardian, and I mean then the support.
Right. So there's clearly a pattern of manipulation unreasonable expectations and putting the blame on others who
yeah.
don't rescue them.
I think that's the triad: manipulation, unreasonable expectation, and placing blame.
You know, don't feel uncomfortable with yourself for making that. You know, you can get used to, used emotionally. You know, it's exhausting. And, you know, as Dr. Pam said, you know, learn to say no. And, you know, we're all dealing with difficult people. Every day we're dealing with difficult people.
And there'll be a pushback. You know, for every action, there's an opposite reaction. So, yeah, the more egregious the request, when you say no, there are going to be histrionics. There's going to be screaming. There's going to be crying.
Yeah.
There's going to be weeping. But, Janet, your grandmother called it
slinging snot, just slinging snot, and there'll be the crocodile tears, and you know and then when it gets down to it, there's not a tear one and everything like that because you
it's
know
just drama.
It's just drama, but don't get sucked in and enmeshed into that because you're protecting that person. But I've seen it all. I mean, I've had people sitting there and you'd think that the world was coming to an end, and you look at them and there's not a tear one.
No, and you know, my mom used to call it tough love.
Absolutely.
Tough love. And I think, you know, a lot of parents raising kids, they want to be their friends and all these different things because they're afraid they're not going to love them. And the reality is even these seniors, they turn some of these people away that with the crocodile tears, they're not going to stop loving. If they truly love them, they're not going to stop loving them if they don't give them what they want for their addictions.
You know, but it's the hardest thing. I mean, you know, the three of us are moms, and as a mom, it's so hard to say no.
Yeah.
It's so hard to be tough.
Absolutely.
But it's even worse to see a bad outcome.
Sure.
And, you know, and it works. So take the time. You deserve it to get a healthy emotional and physical body and mind and emotion. Look at making yourself healthier and stronger and more resilient in your life, and you know, see what you can do to get yourself untangled in some of those unhealthy relationships and unhealthy situations. You know, it's not going to be done overnight, but the best thing you can do is sit down and look at what's going on in your life and how you can do that. Some of those unhealthy relationships, and you know, it might be and talk to somebody. It might be a friend. It might be a book. I know years ago I walked into Books A Million and I said, I need a parenting book or a defense attorney. And right now I don't care which one it is, but you know, it was a book, or a professional, or you might need all four.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to reach out for help. It's a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. And you know, call me.
Because we have people who literally say, it went through my mind. What would Janet do?
Yeah.
You know, what would this?
I like that.
Yeah.
What would Janet
do? That's great.
Yeah.
And another thing for people, again, people don't recognize that they are enabling someone. You never enable someone to succeed. You only enable them to fail.
Exactly. Oh, I like that.
Oh, I like that too.
I like that too. Well, you ladies have given so much, giving so many of our listeners a lot to think about today. So I really think that's great. So thank you so much.
Thank you.